Greg Tepper, do you know why I've summoned you here today to the studio?
I have no idea at all. I was sleeping in my office, as you know.
Well, yeah. Before I roused you and you wiped the sleep from your eye, I told you I've got a list to show you.
You do love a list.
I love listicles, and I've compiled a doozy for you. It is the top 25 most unbreakable records in Texas high school football, and I wanted to just bounce them off of you because you are, as editor-in-chief, an encyclopedia of high school football knowledge.
Well, yeah, but a quick caveat here. I am literally on record, like days after the death of Ken Hall, saying that I didn't think his single-season rushing record his career rushing record would ever get broken. And that statement literally did not even last a year. So, grain of salt here with these, declarations on my part.
But that's why I did this list, is because we all thought Ken Hall's record was unbeatable until Kagan Asher Mount Enterprise I don't want to say came out of nowhere because he was having a hell of a career, but he rushed for like 77 touchdowns and 4,500 yards or something this year.
No, and he broke like two of probably the 7 most unbreakable records in one game, in 1 year. So, yeah, just a grain of salt that, like, if I say, certainly nobody's ever going to break that record, that means some kid from, like, Rio Hondo is going to do it.
And I do need to get this disclaimer out there. I limited it to 11-man football records. And okay. I know you're probably disappointed in me, Tepper, for doing that. But the individual records, there are more in 6-man that are broken because of the nature of that game, and there's a different strategy to that game.
It's a challenge. That's always a challenge that we run into when we're putting together the magazine, because we have our record book, and courtesy of our friend Lehman Saunders, who lets us borrow his 6-man football record book. Comparing 11-man to 6-man, I've just figured out there's not a good way to do it, and so to me, those are separate record books, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Lehman got after me on Twitter X fairly because Fort Hancock does have the all-time wins record consecutively of 70.
And wins are wins, yeah, for sure.
And wins are wins, whether you're 6-man, 8-man, or 11-man football. I get that. But I put Saline in here because I can't pick and choose some 6-man records, but no individual 6-man records. I just got to go all 11-man.
I think that is fair.
Okay, so starting off with number 25. By the way, I love how no computer. You're just going off the dome here.
Look, I might get exposed here.
Just vibing. Okay. First off, the 25th most unbreakable record in Texas high school football is Round Rock Westwood quarterback R.J. Martinez's 50 completed passes in a single game against Round Rock Cedar Ridge in a losing effort.
Like 2012?
2019.
2019, okay. Oh, I'm confusing with the different one. Yeah, I remember when that came across my desk. They were just absolutely letting it fly. That'll get broken. Like 50 completions will get broken. I'm confident that there's too many games that go too sideways that somebody's going to end up airing it out 70 times and complete 50 of them. 51.
Yeah, he's the only player to ever surpass the 50 completion mark, but there have been 12 different quarterbacks with at least 45 completions. Okay. He also had 193 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns rushing in that game.
That was a pretty good game.
And they lost and missed the playoffs on it.
Tough scene.
Is that the greatest quarterback performance in a losing effort?
I don't know, because there's another. I wonder if there's a couple of other records on your list that are similar, because there are some other like unbelievable performances in losing efforts.
We shall see. Number 24, Fort Worth Southwest wide receiver Robbie Rhodes, 8 receiving touchdowns in a game in 2011. By the way, Greg Powers posted on Twitter X a photo recruit headshot he took of Robbie Rhodes. This dude had the biggest head and neck combination I've ever seen. He looked like a cyborg.
I want to say he ended up going to Baylor.
He did for a little bit.
Robbie Rhodes, 8 touchdowns. Just throwing the dang ball. That'll get tied. 9 feels like at some point you're just going to triple cover him.
Yeah, because, Robinson wide receiver Braxton Ashcraft, hell of a name, by the way. He had 7 receiving touchdowns in a 2016 game. 15 other receivers have had 6 before, so there's a lot of people in the ballpark.
Yeah, I think once you get 6 touchdowns, they just decide to shut you down. They're like, all right, hey, listen, we're going to... Because one of the other things we're going to talk about a lot over the course of this conversation, so many of these rely on context, like especially these offensive records and like single game records. You need a certain type of game for that to happen, or a coach who's just like, what if we just cut the brakes?
Mm-hmm. You need a total cut the brakes coach. And honestly, if I'm a defensive coordinator and a guy has 6 receiving touchdowns on me, I'd say over my dead body, you're
Yeah.
going to get number 7.
You're getting four guys on you. There will be guys running free before we let you score again.
All right, we're doing another receiving record here. Number 23, Lake Travis wide receiver Jason Bird's 151 receptions in a single season in 2007. This was the first of 5 consecutive state championships for Lake Travis.
So, and again, with these season records, you're going to be reliant on how deep your team goes, right? And so Jason Bird, I believe, played on a state championship team. And so they played 16 games. So he's averaging, I mean, that's crazy to average like 9 completions or 9 receptions a game for 16 games. That feels, I don't know, that not untouchable, but going to be hard. I might move that up a little bit.
It's just crazy for Lake Travis to have so many NFL guys. Garrett Wilson with the Jets, Baker Mayfield. Garrett Gilbert was the quarterback in 2007. The Lake Travis record holder, the only one on this list, is Jason Bird.
Yeah, there's, that was, I believe, the first year of the Drive for 5. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 22. Stanford quarterback Peyton Bevel's 12 touchdown passes in a game against De Leon in 2018.
Again, it requires a certain type of game. If I remember correctly, that was a really high-scoring game.
90-62.
Right.
789 passing yards and 12 touchdowns. Those are 2 Texas high school football single-game records. I picked the 12 touchdowns and not the 789 passing yards.
It takes a certain type of game for that to happen. I don't know what's coming up next, but my instinct is that needs to be higher. 12 touchdown passes in a game is ludicrous.
Well, there's 4 players that have ever thrown double-digit passing touchdowns in a single game. One of them was Bell's Brian Ponder, who was the head coach for Kagan Ash at Mount Enterprise when he broke the rushing record. His son, Brian Ponder, set a record, almost got a record in 2017 with double-digit passing touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, he is. I've said this before. He's the most interesting coach in Texas high school football. That he has like major rushing records and major passing records. He's a man without a country. He's just like, I'm gonna go whatever we got. We'll make it work.
He's along for the ride. A man with no code.
Yeah.
Number 21. McKinney running back Matt Gadex, 599 rushing yards in a game against Plano East 2017. Tepper, I know you had a story about it. You remember the night this happened.
I remember the night this happened because I think he had like 450 in the first 3 quarters or something like that. And I was starting to get alerts like, dude, some dude is going nuts in McKinney. And sure enough, he runs for almost 600 yards. The other thing about him, Matt Gaddick, is I think, if I remember correctly, his overall season was like, okay. Like, it wasn't spectacular. You would expect him to have like, he probably had like another couple 400-yard games. No. Yep. He ran for like, the next week he ran for like 130. You know? Like, he had a nice season, but like not some ludicrous season. It was kind of like a one-off weirdo game. I think that's going to get broken. I think at some point, like Kagan Ash came close. He had a couple 500-yard games. We'll have a couple 500-yard games every year, but 600 is crazy.
Well, there's 20 players that have ever reached a 500 mark, but only 3 are within 50 yards of him.
That extra 50 yards. That's the extra mile.
Okay, number 20. Frisco Lone Star wide receiver Marvin Mims is 5,485 career receiving yards. From 2017 to 2019, he didn't need a freshman season to do this. He did it in 3 years.
Yeah. I want to say he was at like a private school his freshman year or something like that, if I remember correctly. Anyway, all that's to say, Marvin Mims, Mr. Texas Football in 2019. And I remember in 2019, the real conversation was Marvin Mims or Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both DFW wide receivers, both putting up crazy record-breaking numbers. And that was the conversation we had about Mr. Texas Football. We ended up going with Marvin Mims. Obviously, Jackson Smith-Njigba had an unbelievable career as well, an unbelievable 2019 season. We went with Marvin Mims, and obviously he's in the NFL doing great things and stuff. But yeah, I think I always tend to think those are going to get broken, just because I think that there's going to be some 3A wide receiver who starts as a freshman, has a 1,000-yard season, and then he's off to the races. That's the key. It's like starting early, and getting those freshman and sophomore year.
Especially with the increasing 7-on-7ification
Yes.
of football as we move more to the passing game. Jackson Smith and Jigba, by the way, is 3 with 5,403 career yards. Jordan Shipley from Burnett is in between them.
Jordan Shipley.
Number 19, here's a passing record that I know you hope never gets broken. Sunray quarterback Armando Luans, 14,600 career passing yards from 2021 to 2024. He was a 7th grade backup quarterback. Never started a game until high school at quarterback and then set the all-time passing record.
I'll always have a special place in my heart for Armando Luan because and this is going to sound like, boy, Greg Tepper's super smart. We all know that's not true. I was a real early adopter on Armando Luan because, like, after his sophomore year, you started looking, he was like, dude, this guy's thrown for a lot of yards and he's only a sophomore. And I started, like, go check my Twitter. Like, there's like a tweet from, like, 2022 where I'm like, hey, keep an eye on Armando Luan at Sunray because he's putting up these crazy numbers. I tend to think that those are going to get broken because there was a time when I thought Hunter Lyle, who was the previous record holder at Booker, I thought that would never be broken. One of the things, though, I think is really interesting is that I think there is a real difference between Hunter Lyle, who was so good at Booker for so long, who now they play 6-man ball, and Armando Luan. Hunter Lyle, rather, there was a lot of short passes. There was a lot of screen passes, a lot of get our guys out in space, and that was a really, really talented team. Armando Luan had a little bit more deep ball to him, and I always thought that was really, especially as his career progressed. I really enjoyed watching him.
Armando Luan was more cut the brakes.
He was a little bit more. What if we just throw it all the way? See how far we can throw this ball.
He's one of 3 players to ever cross the 14,000 yard mark. He's got 14,600.
Yeah,
so yeah, Hunter Lyle had 14,408, and then Refugio's Travis Quintanilla, 14,223 yards. A quarterback who wore number 34.
Man.
I think you're going to hear more about him on this list, guys.
I loved Travis Quintanilla. We're going to hear more about him, yeah.
Okay, number 18, Laredo Alexander wide receiver Mark Lozoya's 454 receiving yards in a game against Eagle Pass win.
Again, go back to the Robbie Rhodes conversation, right? At some point, you're just going to get triple covered. So you got to do your damage. To me, I don't know. I don't have the game in front of me, obviously. My guess is that he had like 3 90-yard catches.
26.7 yards per reception.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And so there were some large bills in there. Like you have to, before the defense decides to shut you down, you've got to get yours. And I think that's what happened with Mark Lozoya.
And the coaches took him out in the 4th quarter until the last drive, and they realized how close they were to the record and said, actually, get back out there.
Yeah.
We're up 63-35, but some things are bigger than the game.
We're gonna need to get you into Dave Campbell's Texas football forever.
Okay, I said he's going to be coming up here. Refugio's Travis Quintanilla with 186 career touchdown passes from 2010 to 2013. This is a 5'9" quarterback who wore number 34.
I really can't stress enough. Like this goes back. Travis Quintanilla is an unbelievable player. I don't want to take anything away from that when I say that. I also think about Jason Herring, who's the coach there. And I think there's a generation of people who remember Refugio as a running team, as like we're gonna grind it out, line it up, and grind you out. They used to throw the ball all over the yard, and Travis Quintanilla was the poster boy for that. And what a player he was for so many years down there on the Coastal Bend. Travis Quintanilla was a lot of fun to watch.
He's 15 touchdown passes ahead of Armando Luan, who's 2nd place.
Yeah, I mean he's lapped the field. That feels again. Because unless you start as a freshman, there's just not a lot of freshman quarterbacks starting, right? Mm-mm. Unless you start as a freshman, you got to have 60 touchdown passes every season for 3 years to get close.
Yeah.
That feels pretty untouchable.
It's just crazy that Armando Luan's 2nd, 15 touchdown passes behind, and 15 touchdown passes is like a pretty good season for a quarterback.
Oh my gosh,
It's like honorable mention all districts season, probably.
Yeah, I would love to know how many teams didn't throw for 15 touchdown passes this season. Yeah. You know?
Okay, number 16, that we're getting some crazy. I mean, not that these other ones weren't crazy, but these ones are insane. Navasota wide receiver Trendavian Dixon's 76 career touchdown receptions from 2013 to 2015.
I know you wrote a story about him for TexasFootball.com, and Trendavian Dixon might be the single most gifted receiver I think I ever watched. That guy was such a freak show. Yeah, I don't know if that's ever getting touched. 76 touchdowns.
Well, Ingleside's Jaden Smith touched his 39 receiving touchdowns in a single season record.
Yeah.
That was the 2014 state championship. I didn't include that record on here. I just included the 76 career receiving touchdowns because I don't know if that's touchable. I didn't think 39 was touchable, though.
I want you to think about, if you have 20 touchdown receptions in a season, you had an all-state season, undisputedly, an all-state caliber season. If you had 20 touchdown catches, and he basically had that every year for 4 years, the equivalent of that. Crazy. Trendavian Dixon was such a dog. Mm-hmm. Go back and watch that Argyle state championship game between Navasota and Argyle. An absolute just two teams throwing haymakers at each other.
Well, because Argyle's Nick Ralston ran the ball 54 times.
He was so good.
Navasota threw it 54 times.
And Navasota just ended up stopping him one extra time. That's all it took.
And Navasota quarterback Sheldon Epler was for a while, actually 2 years, the state's all-time leading single-season passer until Levelland's Nick Gerber showed up on the scene in 2016 with 5,617 passing yards in a single season, also had 77 touchdown passes. This was in 14 games, Greg Tepper. This wasn't even a state championship year.
Nick Gerber is coaching somewhere.
Yeah, Lubbock Liberty.
Lubbock Liberty, that's right. That's deeply troubling to me.
We caught up with him last year to do an oral history of the highest scoring playoff game ever, them in Decatur in 2016. I believe it was 82-73 or something like that. They said Dave Campo, the former Dallas Cowboys head coach, was in attendance and left so pissed off at that game because he was a defensive guy.
Absolutely, you should be. But no, Nick Gerber, the pride of the Levelland Lobos.
Sheldon Epler had 5,444 yards, the record for 2 years.
That's crazy.
That's all-time poor Sheldon Epler.
Those, if you go look at the passing records, the long list of the all-time leader in single-season passing, it's Todd. I want to say Todd Dodge had it for a long time at Port Arthur Jefferson, and then it is you get about 2 years with it because then it just kind of keeps getting nudged forward.
Okay, number 14, Booker wide receiver Jared Reagan's 391 career receptions. We've talked about Hunter Lyle. This was his main guy at wide receiver.
That's what I'm talking about when I talk about the style of that Booker offense was to get the ball out quickly to guys like Jared Reagan. And so Jared Reagan, my guess is, again, he had crazy numbers, but 391 receptions, my guess is he averaged 8 or 9 yards of reception because it was just we're doing quick hitters. It was basically that was their version of a running game.
97.75 receptions a season.
Yeah, think about 400 reception catch seasons. It's crazy.
And Booker doesn't, like you mentioned, does not play 11-man football anymore. A 6-man football team now.
The poor Kiowas, they've shrunk.
Okay, number 13, Trinidad running back Steve Williams' 62 rushing attempts in a single game against Oakwood in 1970. I wrote in the story, I think this is unbreakable because if it did get broken, the head coach would be arrested in the handshake line.
Those are two teams that play 6-man ball now. It's Trinidad and Oakwood. Oakwood played in a title game a couple years ago. Yeah, that's never getting touched because when I think of workhorse running backs, David Mora at Mason is the guy that I always remember, and I remember he would have 50 carries in a game, and we would be like, man, what's going on there? How was 67?
62.
62. Add 12 more onto it? Yeah, I don't think that's ever getting touched.
Well, 3 players in history have carried the ball at least 60 times in a game, but they all occurred way before the 21st century.
I think that's real, Waco High Paul Tyson era, style of offense.
Well, you know what's funny is I'm reading the Vince Lombardi biography right now, and it's talking about how he coached at Army West Point, and then these guys would go from the football field to the Korean War, and how football was kind of a training ground for war. That was why they did this back in the day. Of you can run 62 times in a game because that's nothing compared to going overseas. Now none of us are going to war as much anymore, so we all say you can't carry it 62 times.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, and we probably know a little bit more about that 61st carry.
That's true, and also I don't think they knew what CTE was.
I think that's probably true.
Okay, number 12, Refugio's 48 consecutive winning seasons from 1978 to the present. Just for reference, a few American staples in 1978. Ben & Jerry's started, Home Depot, and the Refugio Bobcats dynasty.
I want you to think about, to me, That's what's so crazy is to do that at their level, at a small school level, because there's such turnover and the margins are so small. Like, basically, for them to go out there and do that for 45 years in a row, like, that's like, it would be more, I don't know if it's more or less impressive than if, like, Highland Park had done it. Do you know what I mean?
Highland Park's at 38.
There you go. See, like, Highland Park, though, it's like, all right, if you have a lackluster, by Highland Park standards, senior class, hypothetically, you can just lean more on the juniors. If you have a lackluster senior class at Refugio, there may not be enough juniors to make up for it. You know what I mean? That's what I think is so incredible, and why, when that job came open in this offseason, we were kind of going crazy about it.
Yeah, it's not higher on the list because there's a couple in striking distance. Cal Allen has 42 consecutive winning seasons. That started in 1984. Shout out George Orwell.
By the way, that was I believe 1984 was the first year Phil Danaher arrived at Cal Allen.
Wow.
He never had a losing season. One more fun fact about that Phil Danaher, because I wrote a story about him for a magazine years ago. He literally never lost to Toloso Midway. Like, Toloso Midway has not beaten Cal Allen in like 40 years, and it's exclusively because Phil Danaher just put them in the rear naked choke like for 4 decades.
Talk about 2 records that won't be broken. The amount of Texas high school football fun facts you pulled up.
Let me tell you, man. I just that's I don't know. The Phil Danaher numbers are crazy too. Like, he's the winningest coach in Texas high school football history. Randy Allen's within striking distance. I don't know if he's going to get there, but like, Phil Danaher's number, if you dig into his career, it's ludicrous what he did.
Okay, number 11, almost at the top 10. Alito running back Jonathan Gray's 1,225 career rushing attempts. He toted the rock over 350 times in each of his last 3 seasons at Alito.
Maybe the most gifted running back I've ever seen. That guy at the high school level. That guy was so stinking good. And he could do it all. He could get you the tough yards. He could outrun you. He could do everything. And unfortunately, and he won't make any excuses about it. He won't blame it like that. Now he's on the staff at Alito. But I think there was so much tread taken off those tires when he was at Alito that obviously his career at Texas and his career after high school, really just a lot of injuries and a lot of stuff. And I always wonder about like the workload that he had. Now, look, flags fly forever, as they say, and he is a Texas high school football icon, so I don't think he has any regrets about that. But I always think about that with Jonathan Gray.
I also tried really hard to not have the same guy on here twice. Yeah. I couldn't do it for Jonathan Gray. No. There's another record that he has coming up.
I think I know which one it is.
All right, number 10, Mount Enterprise running back Kagan Ash's 11,382 career rushing yards from 2022 to 2025, surpassing Kenneth Hall. Another one of the records Kenneth Hall broke.
What's the final number? I don't remember.
11,382. So that means you would have to rush for 2,845.75 yards per season starting as a freshman.
I hesitate to say it because it just happened, but like there's a reason that Ken Hall's career record didn't get touched for 60 something years. Like, there's a reason behind it, and I think I think it's because it's so hard to stay healthy and continue to be that consistent. Yeah, I think Kagan Ash is going to be up there for quite some time.
Well, if you're hoping this record gets broken, if you're just praying on Kagan Ash's downfall, your champion is Landon Williams-Callis right now. He would need 3,832 rushing yards as a senior, which would still be over 300 more yards in a single year than he's ever had to touch this record.
So he's got a chance, but I mean, like, that's the thing. But when you think about, like, that's the level we're talking. Like, that's a special player that it's going to take.
Okay, number 9. We're in the top 10 now. Alito scoring 1,023 points in the 2013 season.
It's the best offense of all time, and it's not just by the numbers. Like that is the most. The only one that I've seen that can touch it is the North Crowley 2024 offense. Those are the two. And the other one is 2015 Canadian. Those are the 3 best offenses I've ever seen. Is 2012 Alito, 2015 Canadian, and 2024 North Crowley are the 3 best offenses I've ever seen.
If you want to ask how good this Alito team was, a parent from Fort Worth, Western Hills filed a bullying complaint against their staff for a 91-0 win.
I remember that. I remember the bullying complaint.
Okay, the top 10 is a lot of Alito. Look, historic program. Alito's 135-game active winning streak from 2007 to the present.
Let me tell you something. I know we've got a couple more out here. In my mind, that is in another echelon. Like, if you want to put that number one, I wouldn't argue with you. That'll never happen again.
Their starting linebacker from last year wasn't born
Correct.
when that streak started. We're talking about the George W. Bush administration right now.
It's insane. I don't think it'll ever happen again.
Yeah, the next closest is Newton, whose 85-game run started in 2011. They'd have to continue this for 8+ years.
And by the way,
to tie Alito.
Correct. They'd have to continue for 8 years. And by the way, Alito keeps pushing it farther and farther away.
Mm-hmm. And then number 7 is Salina's 68 consecutive wins from 98 to 02. This is the one that Six-Man fans are at me with a pitchfork.
I mean, look, 68 and 70 are basically in a lot of ways the same.
Only 2 other programs have reached the 50-win mark. One was Allen with Kyler Murray, the number 1 overall draft pick. And what was the other one? It was Austin Westlake during the 3-peat.
But I want you to think about like the turnover in classes that you have over the course of that span.
You had a full year, like a full class go from freshman to senior year to graduate without losing.
Without losing a game. And furthermore, obviously that includes playoffs too. So you're playing the best of best. Yes, I'm sure there's a couple of teams within your district that you have no problem shooing away. That always happens. But like, you're talking about playoff wins, and that consecutive, those types of winning streaks in the playoffs is crazy. And then furthermore, you add into the fact, and go ask a lot of coaches who've succeeded at the highest level, there is a difference when you have the target on your chest. There is a difference. And you are getting the best shot that every team has week in and week out. Everyone wants to take down the king. Everyone wants to be the team to do it. And to do it 67 times after you win the first one is crazy.
Number 6, Alito kicker Chance Navarez's 207 consecutive PATs from 2011 to 2013. I put this record so high because even the best Texas high school football programs get a little wonky on special teams sometimes.
Yeah.
It's part of why I love Texas high school football, because it's always a wild card there. So you have to have one of the highest scoring offenses in history. You have to have a good snap every time, a good hold every time, and a good kick.
And good blocking. By the way, because if it gets blocked, that counts as a miss too. I think you've got it spot on. A lot of these are like, go back to the Steve Williams one at Trinidad, right? That record could get broken by one coach saying, we're going to give the ball to Carter Yates 63 times.
One agent of chaos. All it takes is one.
That's all it takes. There are so many things that have to come together for Chance Navarez's record that I think you're right. That's unbreakable.
Number 5, Alito running back Jonathan Gray, once again, 205 career touchdowns from 2008 to 2011. Kagan Ash just broke Kenneth Hall's single-season record. He had 77 touchdowns as a senior and still finished 32 touchdowns shy of Jonathan Gray.
A whole season, or like half a season for him.
A whole all-state season,
correct.
32
Absolutely.
touchdowns shy.
Yeah. No.
That probably should be number 1.
Like what? I think that's fair. Like there's a reason Jonathan Gray is, in my opinion, on the Texas high school football Mount Rushmore. Like, he is, like what he was able to do at Alito, and especially, I can't stress this enough. Every team knew what Alito wanted to do. They were going to give the ball to Jonathan Gray, and there was just nothing you could do about it. He was such a wonder.
Okay, number 4. Now we're just getting into records that I think could be fake, legit. But they're in the record books.
There's one that I think, there's kind of no way to verify it. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Is it Pilot Point athlete Jigs Ray, 75 points in a single game against Tom Bean?
No, because
in 1937.
No, because you know what? Here's a hot take. I think there's a chance it happens. That you would need basically a guy. It would have to be like a 2A player, and it would be like a 2A running back and then they go for 2 every time. Like, that's what you're going to need. And he would
I didn't think about going for 2.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. Or you go with the kicker, which does happen. There's guys who will score a touchdown and then kick it. I think, to me, there's a path there of getting to 80 points. It is the most ludicrous game we've ever seen, but it could happen.
A non-kicker would have to score 13 touchdowns.
Correct. A non-kicker. Yeah, if you don't want any special teams points, you're going to need 13 touchdowns, which would get you another record.
Number 3, I think this is one you think it's unverified, might be fake. It is Brenham defensive back,
Yes.
Slim Jimmy Lindstaters, 35 interceptions in a single year in 1956.
How?
I didn't know they threw it 35 times a game in 56.
That, to me...
35 times a season, I'm sorry.
That, to me, I might turn this into like an obsession of mine, is like digging into this. Because
Pablo Torre finds out.
Right,
episode.
right. Because I think there's a chance. I mean this sincerely. I think there's a chance that that's actually a career record. You know what I mean? Instead of a season record, and it got turned in like somebody at God bless our friends at the Brennan Banner Press, like they fat fingered it on the linotype, and it came across as a single season record. I have. Because how? I want you to think about a guy who has 3 interceptions in a game. He's all state. Like that, like he's the player of the week. Mm-hmm. To do that every single game, I don't know.
I don't know.
This might be Pablo Torre finds out. This might be the new investigative series. I don't want to take anything away from him because I think he had obviously an unbelievable career. 35 interceptions in a career would be ludicrous.
Yeah, no disrespect to Slim Jimmy.
That's that's number 1 for me. That's number 1 for me.
Oh, you haven't seen these last 2, though.
Okay.
Number 2, 12 overtimes in Jacksonville's 84-81 win over Nacogdoches in 2010.
Okay. I want you to pull up the highest scoring games of Texas high school football history.
Oh, it's coming up. Not
Okay.
number 1.
Okay.
Spoiler.
Because here's the thing. Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville and Nacogdoches were doing a bit. Okay? Because I want to say it was the next year or 2 years after that, they played like a 6 overtime game or something like. If I remember correctly, Jacksonville and Nacogdoches, I think, legit were doing a bit.
Well, okay, so here's what happened. They were tied at 28 at the end of regulation. They played 2.5 hours later. Didn't finish until before 1 a.m. Nac had to win by 8 points to advance to the playoff. So they kept throwing the ball out of the back of the end zone on multiple 2-point conversion attempts, which would have won the game by 2 points.
Right. They can't do that.
So I think this is unbreakable because you can't tell me this will happen again where 12 times both teams execute the exact same or fail to execute in the exact same way, or that there's this insane tiebreaker scenario that this is just 1 in a trillion to me.
Yeah, I think so. And I wonder if there's a similar situation because they played another game that was really similar like around that time. It was the same. And I remember it was the same 2 teams. I'm like, you guys are doing a bit. Like you guys are having a laugh, as our friends across the pond would say.
Number 1, the most unbreakable record in all of Texas high school football.
I don't know where you're going.
Spur and Lorenzo combined for 186 points in a single game in 1930. Now, let me unpack this a bit. First of all, they actually didn't combine for it. Spur beat Lorenzo 186-0.
Yeah. That is the one that is not going to get broken. I think we'll have 186 points in a game.
Because Jacksonville and Nacogdoches played 12 overtimes and combined for 165 points. That is 3 touchdowns below this point total.
I totally agree. But like there will be games where I think there's a chance that happens. But
it would have to be 110-80.
But what won't happen? I mean, what won't happen is a team scoring 187 points because I think we are all, and coaches are keenly aware of this because, look, let's be honest. There are Texas high school ball games every year that are mismatches, total mismatches, right? But there is like this invisible threshold of 100 points. Coaches, go look at the last time we had 100 points in a game. It's been a long time.
Alito got a bullying complaint filed on them for 91-0.
I think there is a mental block for coaches of like, because if you score 100 points, that's a headline. That's an easy headline, right? And so I think coaches, when they get close, you and I have been to games where we have said, if this team wants to score 100 points, they could, right? You've been at a game where it's like, if they wanted 100 points, they could have it. That'll never get touched because coaches are going to be like, we're just going to kneel the ball. Like, we're going to keep the running clock. We'll punt it. I've seen games where the game was, 87-0, and literally the team kneels 3 times and punts it or something like that. That will never get touched. Everything about that. 187 points I think could happen, but 187 points scored in a game and an 187 point margin of victory. Neither will happen.
I think it's a good lesson for all the kids out there. Like if Hank or Max, playing on the Bananas baseball team, they're disappointed after a loss. Just let them know. Like Lorenzo once lost 186-0,
and they got out there the next week and played. So,
I think I actually saw someone that was in the comment section said they disbanded the program for 20 years after.
Well, maybe
they
didn't.
They had to wait for the next generation to come
Yeah,
through. Your generation's done.
We had to salt the earth where that happened. No, I get that. Tough for Lorenzo.
All right. Overall, how'd you grade my list?
I think it's pretty good. I'd make a couple of moves there. I think that but I think that overall you've got a pretty good list. There's a couple of arguments I could make here and there, but I don't think you're way off base on any of these. So
Well, hang the banner, not way off base.
Not way off base. Nice list.
So that'll do it for our special edition of whatever this was. I'm Carter Yates. That is Dave Campbell's editor-in-chief, Greg Tepper. We're signing off. Till next time.